So guys, if you know my channel at all, you know that I'm an avid iPad user. In fact, it was the iPad Pro that started this channel in April of 2020. Having said that, I don't really use Siri because, let's face it, she's kinda dim. As a result, in terms of assistants and smart devices, Google still reigns supreme, and both our house and to a certain extent this studio are filled with Google Nest speakers and hubs. Needless to say, when Google announced their Pixel tablet, I was intrigued and eager to find out how it compares to my beloved iPads and how this particular product would fit into our home and this studio. Let's ramble.
Hold up, place go wild when I pull up. They all on me like it once.
Hey, what's up guys? It's great to see you all again. And if you're new here, I'm Patrick and this is where I ramble about tech and other stuff. Alright, so let's have a quick look at what's in the box before we dissect this thing and go over all of the things. Right, so the packaging is nice and minimal, and so are the contents of the box. There's a bit of documentation, which we usually blissfully ignore. Then there is of course the tablet itself in this nice ivory color. And here we have the dock, which is probably the real star of the setup. It does come with a proprietary cable, which is a bit of a bummer, but hey, Google is not the only company that does this. Now, normally I don't like talking about specs too much, but let me quickly go over them and I will tell you why that's important in a second. The Pixel has a 10.95 or 11-inch IPS LCD display with 500 nits of brightness and a 60 Hz refresh rate. It weighs about half a kilogram, which is roughly a pound. It runs on the Google Tensor G2 chip and it has 8 GB of RAM and either 128 GB or 256 gigs of storage. It has an 8 megapixel camera on the back and a 1080p front-facing camera, and it comes with Android 13 pre-installed. So in terms of specs, definitely nothing groundbreaking, mediocre at best. I wanted to address this because it does mean that as a standalone tablet, it would probably be a hard sell. At this price point, if it's purely a tablet you're after, you'd be better off spending your hard-earned cash on a 10th gen iPad or spend an extra $100 and get yourself an iPad Air 5, which is objectively a far superior tablet in pretty much every way. But is the Pixel just a tablet, or is it a smart speaker, or is it a home control hub? Well, actually, it's all of the above, and I think it's important to see it in that light to really get the full picture and to potentially justify the price point. So let's start by looking at this thing as a bare tablet before we move on to all the interesting integrations that happen once it's docked. The build quality is great. It's a fully laminated display in an aluminum housing, which is covered by this nano ceramic coating, which does make it feel a bit plasticky in my opinion, but it's great at rejecting fingerprints. Speaking of fingerprints, the fingerprint scanner works really great. But that is the only biometric identification. There is no Face ID. The Pixel has 4 built-in speakers, which is great for what is essentially a mid-range tablet. I mean, some of the iPads only have 2 speakers. Even when they have 4 speaker grills, there's only 2 of them that are operational, so having 4 speakers on this one is great. The home screen looks super minimal, probably because Google will give you the cleanest version of Android you can get. No skins, no bloatware. What you see is what you get. If you're used to 120 Hz displays, you will definitely notice the difference. 60 Hz in 2023 just ain't it. With that said, overall it still feels pretty snappy, which is probably a lot to do with the Tensor chip, which can also be found in the latest Pixel phones. There's still a lot of apps that are not optimized for tablets, but that's not really a Pixel problem, but rather an Android problem. Non-optimized apps look pretty terrible in landscape mode, unless you flip the tablet into portrait orientation, in which case they look like giant phone apps, and that can look either alright or not at all, depending on the app. The Pixel does have multitasking, but that is limited to a simple split screen setup, so don't expect anything fancy like Samsung DeX or Stage Manager. In terms of content consumption, it does totally fine. It's perfect for some YouTube or Netflix on the couch, and 500 nits is plenty bright for inside use. Of course, the display is nothing spectacular, there's no OLED or anything like that, but since this display will be on most of the time when it's docked, that's probably a good thing, or you'd end up with massive screen burn. Same thing for gaming. Casual gaming is totally fine, but don't expect to be running Genshin Impact on high settings. And again, 60 Hz is not a lot, and that too is noticeable in games. Video calls are great, the 1080p camera is more than enough to call your friends and family, and the camera is placed in the correct orientation. And I do think making quick calls to family members is one of the things we'll be using this thing for a lot, especially when it sits on the dock in the kitchen or in the living room. You can do work on this tablet. It's possible to hook up something like a Bluetooth keyboard and type away in your favorite app, and I found that the actual dock offers a pretty ideal viewing angle to do so. Now the question is, can you take handwritten notes? And the answer is, yes you can. Although it doesn't come with a stylus, and as far as I know there's no such thing as a Pixel stylus or native pen, but the Pixel does offer USI 2.0 pencil support, so I went ahead and ordered this pencil by Penoval. I'm sure you've seen it before, it's a pretty popular stylus. A fun little bonus is that this stylus actually snaps onto the back of the Pixel as if it was made for it. In terms of writing and drawing, it does the job, but it's not as responsive as an S Pen or the Apple Pencil. The writing experience really is superior on the iPad, especially in combination with a Paperlike screen protector. And thank you very much to Paperlike for sponsoring this part of the video. In the very off chance you don't know, Paperlike is a screen protector that makes writing and drawing on the iPad an even better experience. If you use the hard plastic tip of the Apple Pencil directly on the iPad's hard glass surface, it can feel kind of slippery. Paperlike adds that layer of resistance that makes it feel like you're actually writing on paper. But it also comes with a bonus feature that I personally really enjoy, and that is that it greatly reduces those nasty fingerprints. It also reduces glare without getting that grainy look a lot of other matte screen protectors give you. Paperlike also recently came out with their own iPad Folio, which doesn't only look really nice and sleek, it also holds your pencil in place so it doesn't come off when you toss it in a bag or something. And while the iPad doesn't have a dock like the Pixel does, you can use this Folio to prop it up for you. If you want to check out the screen protector or the Folio for yourself, there's a link in the description. Anyway, as a pure tablet, the Pixel is kinda meh, but where it sets itself apart is the added functionality when it's docked. I picked the porcelain color because I see this setup as a decorative piece in the home as well, and black just isn't it for me. It does look a bit like a blown up version of the Google Nest Hub, but I guess it kinda is, and I always like that look. The Pixel tablet comes with one dock in the box, but you can purchase additional docks and place them in various places around the house or the workspace. My daughter uses it to do homework at her desk in the playroom. It's very useful in the kitchen to look up recipes, you can watch some content, listen to some music while you're cooking, but the majority of the time it sits in the living room where we use it as a true hub. We control our lights, ask it all the googly questions Siri doesn't have an answer to, aka all of them, and this is also where we all just grab it and use it as our couch tablet. I've seen some comments on the internet of people worried about the fact that it is essentially charging constantly when it's docked, but this is addressed by limiting the maximum charge to 90% to safeguard battery health. You really need to go out of your way to make it charge to 100%, and it switches back to the 90% limit every time you dock the tablet. The magnets are pretty strong, but it doesn't take too much effort for children and other household members of the clumsier variety to knock the tablet off the dock, so that is something to keep in mind when thinking about placement. What I really appreciate though is that despite using this as an all-family kind of device, you can still keep your user experience fairly personal because the tablet allows for multiple user profiles. And that includes special kids profiles with the appropriate limitations. That is a very nice touch by Google. Google claims a 12-hour battery life. I haven't been able to get even close to that, but to be fair, it does take a while for a new device to learn your habits and to optimize the battery, so I will probably have to revisit this point in a follow-up review further down the line. Charging happens on the dock via the smart connector pins on the back that also double as data connectors. The Pixel does have a USB-C port, so you can charge it there as well. There's no USB-C cable or brick in the box, but at this point I think we should all have plenty of those laying at home. Audio handoff is awesome. You can be listening to music on the tablet, snap it onto the dock, and enjoy whatever is playing a little bit fuller and a little bit louder. But contrary to what the design might have you believe, the dock only has front-firing speakers, so that's a little bit disappointing. Perhaps Google tried to keep the price down this way, I don't know, but for a device where the speaker dock is like one of its main features, that's probably not the place to be cutting corners, and a fuller 360 sound experience would have really added value in my opinion. I also wish the dock would have been a bit heavier. While snapping it onto the dock is easy, you can do that with one hand, taking it off is definitely a two-handed operation since the dock is way too light to stay in place. Once you attach the Pixel to the dock and you lock it, it goes into hub mode, and it essentially turns into a Nest Hub Max. There's also the Google Home icon at the bottom that gives you access to all the corresponding features like controlling your lights, etc. One thing to note though is that while it shares characteristics with the Nest Hub, it doesn't seem to be fully recognized as one by some third-party applications. For instance, it will let me connect my Eufy security app to Google Home, but the cameras will show as unavailable 100% of the time. On the actual Nest Hubs, they work just fine. Maybe this is something Google will address in a firmware update, but for now, it's worth noting. Of course, since this is a Google product, it has Chromecast built in, so it's easy to stream content from your phone directly to the tablet, and when you're not using it, you can set it up as a clock or a photo frame, pretty much what we're used to from the Nest Hubs. So does this replace an iPad? No, not really. Is it a very cool idea and a useful accessory to have around the house? Absolutely. I'm low-key hoping that this thing becomes very, very popular because maybe Apple will develop a similar thing for the iPad. Some of the iPads already have smart connector pins on the back. The iPad Pro connects to the Magic Keyboard like that, so it doesn't seem like too much of a stretch to use those connectors for other accessories, like a dock. One could even argue that Apple is already dipping a toe in the water, a very, very small toe, but still a toe, with the implementation of iOS 17 standby mode, whereby the phone takes on some hub-like features as soon as it's placed onto a charging stand. So who knows what the future might look like for iPads. Whether the Pixel tablet catches on or not, I'm glad that the big companies are still trying to innovate in the tablet space. The tablet market has been stale for quite some time now, and it's really nice to see some fresh ideas come to life. This Pixel tablet does not replace the iPad for me, but in my case, it does coexist in peaceful harmony, as it serves as our household's shared all-rounder. We're definitely hanging on to this one, and I do plan to update you guys again in a few months' time. In terms of price, I do actually think that we're getting a pretty good deal, especially when you consider that the dock is sold separately for $130. In the US, the Pixel tablet sells for $500 including a dock, which means that we're essentially paying $370 for the tablet itself, which is not bad at all. Let me know in the comments if you're thinking about picking one of these up and why or why not. Guys, if you enjoyed the video, please give it one of these. It really does help the channel. Subscribe for more content. Thank you so much for watching and see you in the next one.